Well, hello, that's me again. Today is April 11th, 2025. It is Friday, so, well, why don't we start then? Let me start with things which you probably saw already, but I will be giving you approximate numbers and I will explain why it matters. And we will start with, for example, this thing. As you can see yourself, it is the frigate of the Admiral Gorshkov class, Project 22350. It's an official carrier of the hypersonic weapons, namely 3M22 Zircon, all kinds of other things, including P-800 Onyx with a range of 1,000 kilometers and things of this nature. The cost, or the price rather, the price by which Russian Navy gets it, is in 2011 it was around, which is of course, 14 years ago, it was around $250 million, but if you convert it directly to through the conversion rate, if you wish, and reality is it's around $500 million. And in terms of its striking power, there is simply no surface ship which is comparable to it. Well, actually, probably the Admiral Nakhimov, the nuclear-powered cruiser, which is coming out soon, will be more powerful than that, but and the newest frigates, the modification of this frigate to 22350M will have more cells, will have larger displacement, but still those good old hypersonic weapons. Now we continue to this. This is strategic missile submarine of the Borei A, Project 955A strategic missile submarine, state-of-the-art, carries 16 Bulava missiles capable of launching also the hypersonic maneuvering blocks. It's around $1 billion. So for you to understand, and I will remind you, I spoke about this ratio before, Russia, for the price of single non-existent USS Columbia, the submarine which is going to substitute the aging higher class subs, Russians built actually 8 of those. So just for you to understand what we're talking here about. Then we go to this thing, which is obviously, many people don't like it. Well, they don't like it for a reason, because it is the guided cruise missile carrying Yasin class Project 885 submarine, nuclear-powered submarine. Its cost is around $850 million, and it's also the carrier of Zircon 3M22 hypersonic weapon. So then we'll continue further. Now, if you take a look at the state of the art, it's the new iterations with the air-independent propulsion. These are non-nuclear submarines of the Project 677 called Lada class, state-of-the-art, basically robots. Its cost is around roughly $400 million. Why do I say this? Why this is important? Why I had to come out here and remind you about those ratios? Very simple. Because Vladimir Putin, while everybody will be discussing what he was talking about with Mr. Witkoff, they had the behind the doors, obviously, conversation for whatever the reasons there. But here we are. Today, Putin announces the allocation of 8.4 trillion rubles for new ships of the Navy. Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that 8.4 trillion rubles will be allocated for the construction of the new ships for the country's navy within a decade. So within this decade, actually, not just within the decade. And when you ask me what it means, well, if you divide roughly 8.4 trillion, which is absolutely ridiculous to do this, but hey, whatever. So 8.4 trillion by roughly what is the now the exchange rate between ruble and dollar by 85, you will get around $100 billion. As he says that at a meeting at the development of the Navy, Putin said that these funds would become part of the state armament program, the Kremlin said on the Telegram channel. He stressed the importance of the systematic and consistent development of all elements of the Navy, including surface and submarine groups of ships, naval aviation. And so when you look at that, and when you look at this number, I mean, which is gigantic number actually, and you ask yourself, how the heck, what it means. And again, please, I got this thing when I was converting it at around, as I already stated, at around, well, maybe $10 billion, maybe not 100. But the problem is, of course, no matter what you do in terms of conversion, it still doesn't reflect the reality. And again, just anybody who wants to check me, and please do your thing and write in the comments below my video that whatever that will be, it's still a gigantic sum of money. And the reason this sum of money is gigantic, because obviously direct conversion of the prices of what Russians or Russian Navy buys does not reflect reality. Because, for example, many people have to understand, in this sum of money, you already have not just the new hulls which are being built. If you look attentively across the whole Russian shipbuilding program, everything is being built, all of it, and we're talking about those, and they're really significant quantities. For example, you can take a look at all those building Yasin class, nuclear-powered submarines, or Gorshkov class frigates, or any kind of other weapon system. It's not only that. Russians invested already before that, so that is why this sum is so important. Russians already invested huge sums of money, and they have been invested in such things as the newest anti-submarine warfare state-of-the-art helicopter, which is called Minoga. There are all kinds of things, including the brand new anti-submarine warfare patrol aviation aircraft and things of this nature. And so when taken actually in this overall framework of things, you will understand that even if I am mistaken by the order of magnitude, the amount of money which goes towards that is already gigantic, because it also comes with the development of the brand new weapon systems. And as I stated many times before, if you take a look attentively at development of Russian hypersonic weapons, they are already past the first generation of hypersonic weapons. We are looking at the new versions of Zircon. If that hasn't been enough, with 3 M22 Zircon anti-shipping missile, which could be used also easily against the land targets or fixed targets. With the 1500 kilometer range and Mach 10 speed, we're looking at something which is, well, rumor has it, 2,500 or above 2,000 kilometer range, and Mach 13 plus. There's nothing there which can intercept it. And and other types of weapons, including new anti-submarine warfare things, and other types of the strike and defensive weapons, including probably the something new in terms of the air defense complex, which still Gorshkov class, for example, carries this Parliamentary Dud complex, which is the state-of-the-art thing, and it is known as the S-350 Vitязь, which is the ground version of it, and land version, and it performed brilliantly in the special military operation. So we look at this thing which is developing, and this is very important, no matter how you look at it. And yes, the 8.4 trillion rubles is huge sum of money, gigantic actually. And so let's take a look now at something else. And speaking of the naval affairs, I want to stress that while Russians are developing this like there is no tomorrow, we have this thing. And this is, I cannot even emphasize enough that US Navy cancels critical HALO hypersonic missile, citing cost concerns. Yes, this came yesterday. Some people told that as a breaking news, But read my lips. United States is having gigantic issues with the real hypersonic weapons. No, not some ballistic missile which they launch and say, oh, it's hypersonic because it flies above Mach something, while in reality being nothing more than a regular ballistic missile. No, 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 no. We are talking about the hypersonic weapons, the things which fly within atmosphere on their own power and can maneuver, can actually track and acquire the target and things of this nature. That basically I described you 3M22 Zircon, and latest versions of Kinjals are similar. So now they say that the hypersonic air launch offensive missile, HALO, no less, okay, in development for the US Navy high priority offensive anti-surface warfare increment 2, oh my gosh, you're gonna break your tongue just, spelling those things, has been cancelled. According to a statement given to Naval News by Rear Admiral Stephen Tedford, Program Executive Office for Unmanned Aviation and Strike Weapons. And look what they say. Yeah, they talk about this, confirming the statement. So, and when you go and take a look at it, you will see yourself that the current this whatever offensive weapons, surface weapons, increment 1 Lockheed Martin long-range anti-ship missile is being pursued in favor of HALO. According to Tedford, the US Navy is pursuing hardware and software upgrades that will enhance targeting capabilities for the missile instead. I can tell you immediately they're not gonna do much good there, because you need a completely different types of the air defense missiles to intercept hypersonic weapons. They have to have the probably order of magnitude more energy, or be more energetic than whatever current inventory of the US, not only Navy, any missiles is. They are capable only of intercepting classic ballistic missiles which fly on the ballistic trajectory and do not maneuver. So here's an artist's impression of hypersonic air-breathing missiles. So it's, typical thing. And then we look at this, and as you can see yourself, they say the Navy is committed to the investment in long-range fires, which, remember, I use those long-range fires constantly. I use them whenever I speak about either the naval, air, or ground forces, because long-range fires are the pivotal point of every single tactical and operational document written in the United States, well, and by default NATO, because this is the pivotal advantage they thought they had. They don't have it anymore in the peer-to-peer competition, and they don't have it so badly. I cannot even explain to you how bad it is. But here you are. And so they talk about that in this case, you need to have, investment into the long-range fires, or generally standoff weapons, basically. And they go for the AGM-150 long-range anti-shipping missile, currently fielded on the Navy FA-18 and Air Force B-1B aircraft. Okay, what is this long range? Well, let's go to the Lockheed. And let's take a look at this. As you can see yourself, this is long-range anti-shipping missile. As you can see yourself, as Lockheed Martin itself states, unlike JASSM, which of course lighter, this long-range anti-shipping missile has the range of above 200 nautical miles. So, well, you can say it's about 400 kilometers probably. So, but it is subsonic, and no matter how you pack it into the low observability things, all those angles and things like that, it makes very little difference for the modern air defense complexes, such as precisely the air defense complexes which are carried by the frigates of the class of Gorshkov class and Russian corvettes, which are of course parliamentary dudes. They will see it, they will track it, and they will develop firing solutions. They will shut down, and the only way they can hope to achieve anything with this subsonic missile is to provide, well, the bulk. They're probably trying to, overwhelm the air defense of some ship or grouping of ships. But there is an, of course, problem. For example, God forbids, of course, with the in the case of fighting Russian Navy, they will be outranged several times. So it's just really horrible, honestly. So, and this is what long-range anti-shipping missile is. And if you take a look attentively at this, I mean, it absolutely is, it's a soap opera with this long-range hypersonic weapon, which they are allegedly deploy in Germany, but of course they don't have this missile, and it failed the test, as the actually auditors themselves stated. The fact that it flew somewhere without hitting much anything and allegedly it reached like Mach 5 plus something. And it's not a weapon, it's still the test platform. And yeah, you can remember, this is the thing which was allegedly per Mr. Trump already, like 2019, all kinds of those hypersonic weapons. No, United States doesn't have hypersonic weapons, and probably not gonna have it for a while, but eventually it will. But by that time, as I ad nauseam, I cannot even express enough how bothersome, even for me to repeat it, the air defense complexes which Russia developed are the complexes which are capable of intercepting hypersonic weapons. They can detect them, they will track, develop firing solution, and will shut them down. So, what can I say? Now, well, because of that, and you can go and take a look, obviously, at the Real Clear Defense article by one of yesterday, a wonderful article actually by one of the members, Andrew Latham, and you can see yourself, they write openly what I will tell you, and very many competent people were telling you, that NATO is a corpse. We know that it is a corpse. And so they, he writes correctly, and believe me, this guy is no Russophile, okay? He is not Russian, he is, probably the, serious pro-Western person, but he writes correctly that this is not a triumphalist declaration from the Kremlin or Beijing. It is a sober diagnosis grounded in realism and restraint. And it should be a wake-up call in Washington, Ottawa, Berlin, and beyond. And when you have people openly stating it, that it is a corpse, let's take a look what is the justification for this rather correct conclusion. NATO's death was not caused by Donald Trump. I agree completely. It wasn't. Though he may soon become its undertaker. Nor was it caused by Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, though that war, that's the point, has exposed the alliance hollowness in ways no war game or communique ever could. And so there you go. And he's absolutely correct that it was also the free riding by Europeans, and I will explain to you what it means. And so he talks about, including from the Canada's point of view, about Trudeau's empty pledges, Musk's decaying defense industrial base, a stagnant recruiting system, and an Arctic strategy made of snow and sentiment. Germany, the economic motor of Europe, not anymore, still can't field a combat-ready army for more than a few weeks at a time. I have news. It cannot field the actually fully combat-capable brigade. Forget about army. And meanwhile, the United States, still NATO's military backbone, absolutely, NATO is the euphemism for the United States, faces a fiscal cliff, which is absolutely correctly. That is why Mr. Trump conducts his, attack, tariffs-wise attack on China and all this strategy. It's really not serious strategy, but at least, what he's trying to do something facing absolutely this very fiscal cliff, because United States is facing the official bankruptcy, which will overturn the complete status of the United States and will make it nothing more than the major power within the Americas. Not even global one, because what we will face, and we are facing it with this, ballooning national debt and, the horrendous fiscal indices, apart from Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal is just pure speculation. It has no relation to economy. But we're facing the Great Depression 2.0 and probably worse than that. So, and he talks about recruitment crisis and overstretched force posture. And it's not just overstretched force posture, it is the wholly, malignant force posture because it is based on the wet dreams. There is nothing substantial which supports this posture. But here it is. The era of limitless resources is over. America's global primacy has ended. Multipolarity has arrived. Correct. Correct. I've been writing about this for 10 years. And for those who didn't see what was happening already in 2014 when Russians took Crimea and who never saw and who never wanted to look deep into the development of the, basically Russian industry, Russian economy, not from the monetarist point of view, but from the point of view of real economy, real industries, it's difficult to explain to them. You cannot explain. It's Dunning-Kruger. You cannot explain Wall Street stockbroker that he is moron because he is moron. Not all of them, but many are. They really think merrily like Bill Maher, who suddenly became common sense guy, but he also tried to challenge in one of his shows, the idea that, and why do we need reindustrialization? What's so good about industries? You cannot discuss anything with these people. They are morons. Their level is to discuss lingerie, Hollywood stars, and do these shows, which basically nothing more than demagoguery, juggling with one or other, quotes and making show out of it. And people buy it, But reality is, of course, in this respect, you can sense it. Trump understands the problem. How he tries to solve it, that's the questionable issue. But if that hasn't been enough, now we have British. Yes, British. Those amazingly powerful, army of the United Kingdom. And here we have the Times. No less, the Times suddenly goes out today and writes this huge article that the untold story of British military chief's crucial role in Ukraine. Well, they post this Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace, he is an amateur, militarily amateur, as most of the officer corps of British Army is, because, as I already stated, and I will repeat it, anybody who wants to, basically talk to me about it, I'm willing to discuss this, but United Kingdom doesn't have professional military education. The Academy in Sandhurst is nothing more than vocational school for people who do not understand what military is. They basically teach those guys some basic things which anybody with the IQ above room temperature can understand. 44 weeks. You cannot prepare a professional cadre officer in 44 weeks. Period. Well, Ben Wallace is the graduate. He was a captain of something, and they all like that. All of them. There are no exceptions. Most of them, including those people who go through the King's College, all the strategic studies programs. If you have an initial degree in sociology or journalism or even languages, and you think that you can understand operational planning without the serious background physics, mathematics, higher math, obviously, math analysis, all kinds of things of this nature, forget it. You're not gonna get it. And so, in the extent of the UK's involvement in 2023 spring offensive against Russia, the last-minute dashes to Kiev, battle plans, and intelligence has remained largely hidden. I know those people in that third, it is becoming third world island, they still think that they matter. As I already stated, now we have the official confirmation for what I've been talking about for number of, from the start of the special military operation. It's not just Americans. There's a British. They are just itching to, stick it to Russians to show them the British still matter. Well, with their pathetic army and their pathetic officer corps. And guess what? So we have now confirmation that these were British who did it. They basically planned this 2023 catastrophe. Well, why did they plan it this? Well, because they are incompetent nincompoops. They do not understand basic things about warfare. And of course, when you have people like such people like Sir Anthony Beevor, who writes about World War II, which is essentially inventing things, yeah, you're not going to get even the history correctly. They really think, the British, they really think that they defeated Hitler. But so they say that in the early summer 2023, as the Ukrainian army launched its long-awaited spring offensive, the code name for one crucial event was named not after a famous Ukrainian figure or place, but a British politician. Wow, the Wallace Axis. Good Lord. So you have these amateurs, and British generals are amateurs, who planned this thing. Russians killed, as you know, 160,000 of those people, and these guys, I mean, the armed forces of Ukraine never even reached the first line of defense, Russian defense. And so they say, while Britain's unwavering support for its Eastern European ally has been no secret, the extent of its involvement and influence, last-minute dashes to Kiev, help forging battle plans, and collecting vital intelligence on the Russians has remained largely hidden. No, it wasn't really largely hidden, but it's pleasant to have from this rag, you know, so confirming that we knew that British military is incompetent, it's Lilliputian, and they have to really dissolve, you know, because they are the third world country, basically they are getting there, and what can I say, it's really laughable when these people try to operate against Russian general staff. They really need lectures on the military history, but most of them, due to their humanities education, will not understand basic operational math, which could be very complex. So, behind closed doors, the Ukrainians refer to British military chiefs as the brains of the anti-Putin coalition made up of America, the UK, and dozens of other like-minded nations. So, what can I say? I mean, there are morons in London, and I'm not exaggerating. This is not the figure of speech. They do not understand. They exposing themselves as the incompetent morons. They wouldn't be allowed, or the chiefs of the general staff, whatever the hell the Ministry of Defense of Great Britain, they wouldn't be allowed to command a company in Russian military because they would be laughed at. And so, like, how to put it, I'm lost for words sometimes. And so they continue to expose themselves, thinking they are so great. That it was at this point, you know, that this offensive that Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, a state-educated boy from Oldham, and his two principal lieutenants, Lieutenant General Sir Rory Walker and Lieutenant General Sir Charlie Strickland, cemented the respect of the Ukrainians and Americans alike. Yes, only in Britain you can go out, kill, in the case of counteroffensive, so-called counteroffensive, two combined arms army, and then go to Kursk, which was also British affair, kill there 73,000 plus combined arms army, and think that this is some kind of achievement. You cannot explain to these people, look at them, they are morons. The only driver behind them is not the serious military knowledge, it's not the serious academic education, none of them have that. It's the fact that they hate Russians and want to stick it to them. I don't know, you know, what can I say? And especially you begin to laugh at the claims that they somehow have the intelligence on Russia. They have nothing. Again, as I already stated, they are stacked up, pathos-ridden morons. And yeah, what can I say? Let's take a look how these people operate, these great military planners. This is yesterday, as you can see. So, by the way, yeah, uptick in their daily dose. We now have confirmation, tens of thousands, 18-year-old kids being enlisted into armed forces of Ukraine. It's a cannon fodder, but that tells you actually that those British generals and admirals, they're nothing more than war criminals. Basically, that's who they are. And these numbers, as you can see yourself, show. What is interesting, these cretins will continue to teach it in this Sandhurst and King's College, whatever, all those things as great successes. It's like Dunkirk, you know? Oh yeah, such a success, we saved the army. No, you didn't. And the point is, of course, it was a completely demoralized crowd, and that's good that they saved them, make no mistake. But to consider this as some kind of the success, I mean, people, you really have to begin to live in the reality, real reality, not alternative reality, British alternative reality, which is constructed by people of the level who let most of British military probably will qualify to work for in tabloids as some kind of the, like this cretin, remember? So this is the level of the British military corps in general. And if you take a look at this video, please, people, tell me that it's not some kind of the, you know what, setup or they making some show, but evidently this is how French army trains. I don't know if it is real. Make no mistake. I immediately put forward this disclaimer because I don't know. I don't read French, but if somebody can tell me what is going on. But if it is the combat training of the French army, it's understandable why Russians have a Homeric laughter bouts. You know, some people probably will go to hospital because of the hernia they develop looking at this. This is pretty much the level of the European NATO. And this is what it is. NATO is a corpse. And whatever they try to do, there is always good Oreshnik or Sarmat or Bulava or Kinjal or what have you, which can cool down all those heads of those pathetic amateurs from the European military staffs who do not understand the first thing about the modern warfare and do not understand what posture is and how industrial capability of the country plays the critical role in all that. And I was preparing today to actually review of Molly Punter Downey's wonderful London War Notes from 1939 to 1945, a wonderful book. But I seem, to stumble on these pieces from British trash, you know, which they expose as already stated. I mean, they have to concentrate on doing what they have to do. There is a sandbox, there are you know, all kinds of toys. Let them play in the sandbox. Let them not go even anywhere, the league for the adults, because these kids, this is kindergarten level of people. And this is what I wanted to tell you today, guys. And as always, in the end, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford it, please support me on the Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. And guys, have a nice weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.